There's some swifts. I was thinking the other day about birds, and I was talking to a friend of mine named Jeff. We were talking about the life of swifts, and very interesting that the birds will fly sometimes 40,000 feet above sea level from what they've studied, and they will many times spend months without landing. And so they're catching thermals, they're packing their cheeks with bugs, and specifically spiders that will be found at these altitudes. They obviously have incredible vision, and they have the only reason they come into land is so that they can hatch eggs. So they'll even mate in the air, they'll sleep in the air, and probably the coolest birds that I know of. Maybe leave a comment. What's your favorite bird? What bird inspires you the most? When I was a kid, I always used to watch the pigeons, and I always thought like kind of pigeons are kind of goofy. They feel like they're kind of noisy, and some of them are ugly. And my Uncle Ray actually raised birds for a little while, and we had a chicken coop, and that used to be popular back in the day. Homing pigeons were a big deal, and I don't think my uncle ever did anything with them, but I don't know if they were my uncle's or my dad's, but anyways, we had them at the house. But they would just make a mess everywhere, and there's probably 30 or 40 of them, and they'd circle around the barn, and then they would land, and they had eventually they put them in they had a coop. It was the roost for the chickens, and they just sectioned that off. And yeah, long story short, I didn't think much about pigeons, but then I found out later on in life pigeons are incredibly intelligent, and they also were used for many years to deliver messages. Now, I'm sure you've heard this before, but this is news to me, but there's carrier pigeons would literally carry messages. I'm not 100% sure how they train them, but if you go down the YouTube rabbit hole, you'll find it. And there are people who raise pigeons. They will literally train them, and they can take them, I don't know how many, hundreds and hundreds of miles away, and they're not able to see where they are when you're driving. They're inside their cage or whatever, but they can basically just open up the cage, let them out, and they will fly all the way back home, and they somehow will find their way back. And so that's how they will use these pigeons for as messenger pigeons. So back in the day, you might take off on your adventure, and you'd bring a pigeon with you, and let's say you got into, you found some gold, or you found the enemy's camp or something like that. You could put a note on your pigeon's ankle and then just throw him in the air, and he'd fly back home, and then the message would make it back. So very fascinating birds. Obviously, the other birds that are fascinating are some of the geese that will migrate, geese that will fly thousands of miles. I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that some geese will fly at incredible altitudes, and I'm talking like 50,000 feet, but it's just hard for me to believe, because I know that at 40,000, what they were saying with the swifts, there's got to be some issues with oxygen, and I don't know. It's hard for me to understand. So maybe you can, if you know more than I do, maybe leave a comment. Interested.